you go.
Hi everybody, I'm Debbie with Rocky Mountain Lodge and so glad you guys joined us today. We're going to be making a couple of easy dishes today that everybody's going to love. We're going to be making some super easy baked beans. You'll never want to go back to regular baked beans once you buy these, ones that you get from the store. And then we're also going to be making some sinfully delicious cheese bread. Oh my gosh. It's worth every calorie that goes into this bread. So just make sure you save a little extra in the way of calories so that you'll enjoy this cheese bread. And you can find the recipe for our baked beans in my cookbook, Rocky Mountain Lodge, Rocky Mountain Lodge and Cabins, More Favorite Recipes. You can find this cookbook at our website at rockymountainlodge.com and click on the gift shop tab. And currently all of our gift shop items are half off. And then the cheese bread recipe you will not be able to find on our website. So the only way you can get it is by buying the cookbook. It is in the cookbook, but it's not on our website. So you can click on the recipes tab to find the recipe for the baked beans and the gift shop tab to get the cookbook. And it's currently $10, which also includes a free ebook version. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Say hi to Linda Bartholomew.
Hi, Linda. It's so good you're joining us, and we're so excited to see you and Frank and Sophie here. Ralph and Sophie here in just a couple of weeks. That'll be fun. So what we're going to start with for our baked beans, we'll start with that. So right here I started cooking this already just because it takes a little bit of time to render down the bacon. So here I have 4 ounces of bacon, which I have chopped into little pieces. It's about 3 pieces of thick sliced bacon. If you use thin bacon, it's about four pieces. So 3 or 4 pieces of bacon, about 4 ounces. And so we're just going to cook this until it's about 2/3 of the way done, not all the way, because then we're going to cook the onions with it in the bacon grease. So while we're waiting on those to render down, we're going to start working on our cheese bread.
Kathy Harrington.
Hi, Kathy. Good to see you. When are you going to come visit us out here in Colorado? We're waiting for you. We'll be excited when you come.
There's cold water here.
There is cold water here. I bet we can find places for you to go swim in. All right. So what we have here for our cheese bread is we have 1 loaf of French bread. You can use sourdough bread too if you want, whatever kind of bread you want. You just want 1 loaf of bread. I have French bread right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut this across the grain this way into about 1.5 inch slices this way. I'm buying time while our bacon cooks. You don't want to go all the way through. You want to make sure that you don't cut through the bottom. So we're just cutting about, most of the way, but not all the way through. That's really important so your cheese just doesn't go oozing out the bottom. We want our cheese to stay in the bread. Oh, and I've got to go get my cheese. I realized I left it in the fridge. I'll get that in a minute. So once we have them all cut this way, then we're going to go and we're going to turn our bread and we're going to cut this direction. So then we're going to end up with little cubes. Again, don't cut all the way through. And so we're just going to cut again about 1 to 1.5 inch slices all the way across. And then when we get done, we're going to have all these little cubes here. Make sure I get all of this, but not all the way down to the bottom. And we'll just continue on. It doesn't take very long. I actually have a loaf of this bread in the oven right now, so you can see the finished product. The only sad thing is you won't be here to eat it. All right, so we got all that done. You can see now we have lots of little cubes here. All right, and now I'm going to go get our cheese. Before I do that, I'm going to give our bacon a little stir. Okay. All right, grab cheese. Okay. Here we go. So what we have here is we have about 12 ounces of Swiss cheese that I have already pre-sliced. And you can use different kinds of cheeses if you want. You can use cheddar cheese, you can use pepper jack cheese, whatever you want. So now we're just going to take our slices and we are going to stick them in all of these little slices that we made. So I'm just going to go in one direction first. We don't want to be skimpy here. You want to make sure that you have plenty of cheese in here because this is what's going to make it so good. And I'm just going to keep going while I get these all filled. Buying time again for our bacon. Let's see how that's doing. It's doing good. I want it to cook just a little bit more. It's starting to get a little crispy, but I want it to get a little more crispy, just a little bit, and then we're going to add the onions. So this is why I decided to do two things today, so that way I can go back and forth, and you don't have to just sit here and watch me stir bacon or just fill pockets of cheese. But this cheese is so worth it, y'all. You can use pepper jack cheese in here, and then I'll show you different ways to modify the butter that we're going to pour on top. Yes, there's butter. I did tell you this was sinfully delicious, right? Because we're going to have a whole stick of butter going on top of this. That's going to melt all down into this. All right, and so I cut these cheeses. I tried using my little box grater to slice these, and it made them kind of thin. I usually do them a little thicker. The one that I have in the oven is thicker. But we're just going to put lots of cheeses in here. Now we got all of them filled going in this direction. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go across and fill all these little tiny pockets in this direction. Don't miss any, because you don't want to be skimpy on this cheese. And you don't want somebody to come along and say, hey, I didn't get any cheese in my piece of bread. We really need...
Nobody's going to say that.
Nobody's going to say that. But I would know it wasn't there. That's just a me thing. I would know. I would say it if I made it. But if somebody else made it, I wouldn't say it. So... just me. So we're just going to go across here. I think our bacon is good enough here, so I'm going to take a pause here. So our bacon, you can see, is starting to get crispy. So now I have about a half of a small onion that I've cut up, diced up. So we're just going to put this in here, and now we're going to saute these onions in with the bacon. And if you could smell this right now, the bacon and the onions together smell so good. And so we're going to cook that until the onion is translucent. And while I keep stuffing this bread, let's see, I forgot where I left off. You come visit me, Linda, Sophie, I'll make some of this bread for y'all. Kathy, I'll make you some bread. I know it's not really the best health-wise, but it sure is worth it every once in a while. It's a nice treat. I said 12 ounces of Swiss cheese. This is actually 16 ounces. I just cut up 2 8-ounce packages. And so that's what we've got here. I've got a little extra. I would prefer it if my slices were a little thicker, so I'll just grab a couple slices at a time. This is a thick one. And throw them in there, or I'll double them up. Fold it over. Add extra. Just want to make sure we have all of our little pockets filled. It doesn't look so pretty right now, but I tell you what, once all this cheese melts inside there, it's going to be delish. Okay. It's all right if they stick up. Don't worry about it. They're going to melt down. And so just make sure you get all of your little pockets full. Okay. And I think we've got most of them filled. All of our little slices. All right, so I think that is ready. I think we got every little nook and cranny full with cheese. All right, so now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put it on a foil-lined cookie sheet because it can make a mess. So you want to make sure that you have it on something protective here. I'll give these onions and a stir here, onions and beans. By the time we get our bread in the oven, these will be just right, and then we'll just have a few more minutes to finish up. All right, so now what we have here, so the bread is ready. So now I have 1 stick of butter that I've softened and just kind of stirred around here, 1/2 cup. And here I have 1 teaspoon of lemon juice that I'm going to add to that. And then this here is 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of seasoned salt, and 1 teaspoon of dry mustard. So we're going to add all of these to this for our seasoning. And just give this a stir. Get it all mixed up. We don't need to add any extra salt because there's plenty of salt in that seasoned salt. And we have onion powder, not onion salt, to go in here. And then we are just going to get a little basting brush. And now we're just going to paint this bread. You can melt the butter if you want.
Bring the bread a little closer to you.
Okay. You can melt this butter if you want. I just like to do it this way because then I can see if I've got every little spot. So you can just get artistic and paint your bread. This is an easy dessert. You serve this for company and everybody's going to love it. My husband and I had this last night. We each took a chunk of it, and then I took the rest to my daughter and her kids next door, and they were excited to get it. But they really only got about 2/3 of a loaf or 3/4 of a loaf. And so today I'll give them a whole loaf since I've got 2 made. Actually, probably 1.5 because we tend to just take a hunk and that's what we eat. So you just want to get your butter brushed everywhere, all along your edges. And then I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. And now I'm just going to put this in my oven uncovered and let it cook for about 30 to 40 minutes until it's all done. Now, however, if you want to go a little fancier, you can take a little bit of paprika just to make it pretty and just sprinkle a little bit of paprika on here just for some more color. Not necessary, but if you want to do it, you can. My mom always sprinkled paprika and parsley on her garlic bread. Now you can do this and do some mozzarella cheese and garlic butter on here. Serve that with Italian food instead of garlic bread, and it'll be delicious. This would be your garlic bread, so just sprinkle it with a little parsley. Now it's pretty. All right, and then this will go in the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. And so I'm just going to set this aside. I've got one in the oven now. I'll show that one to you here in a couple minutes. All right, so now we're going to finish these beans. So now these onions have gotten a bit translucent and our bacon is mostly crisp. And so now I'll just let that finish while I do the rest. So now you can cook these beans either in a crock pot like I have right here. I actually have a batch in here that I started earlier this morning. For these, you can just do them in also you can put them in just a casserole dish, a 2-quart casserole dish, and bake them in the oven at 350 for about 1.5 hours. So what we want to do is we're going to make our sauce. So for our sauce, I can use the same one here. We have 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Let me get, actually, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and 1 tablespoon of prepared mustard. This is just regular plain old yellow mustard. If you want to add a little kick to it, you can use some spicy brown mustard. And so I'm just going to mix all of these up together. And so this is going to make our sauce. And then also we have some pork and beans. You can use 2 small 15-ounce cans of pork and beans, or you can just use 1 larger one. And if you don't have pork and beans, all these are some white beans, with a little bit of tomato sauce and a little chunk of bacon in there, and that's it. So if you don't have any pork and beans on hand, just do 2 15-ounce cans of white beans and an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. And you don't need to worry about the bacon since we've got it going here. And so now we're going to add these beans to our pot here. So there's our beans. We'll just stir these up in here. And now that our bacon is done, we'll add our bacon. Let me shut this off. Bacon and onions to the pot here, to our dish, and add these in there with the grease. You want that bacon grease in there. It's going to give it extra flavor. And so now we would just cook this at 350 degrees on a low, well actually 350 degrees for about an hour to an hour and a half. We'll want it covered. And then when they're done,
crock pot on low.
Or a crock pot on low for about 4 to 6 hours. So I've got some done right here. I'll bring this over. Let me grab a pot holder or two. Come on, get off of there. All right, so I've got some pot holders here. I'll take this out of there. This one I'll probably give to my daughter to bake. And now I'm going to just take this out of here. Our beans are done. These have been cooking in here for about 3.5 hours. So you can kind of see what they look like after about 3.5 hours. I can tip this towards you. They're all bubbly and steamy, and I'll just put some here in a bowl. And you can see what they'll be like. Oh, that's hot.
Careful.
Okay. And so here are our easy baked beans. They're nice and steamy. They've got lots of juice in them. They've got bacon in them. And they have lots more flavor than the ones you'll buy in the grocery store in the can. So there are easy baked beans. They truly are easy, as you just saw. And now I will go and get our cheesy bread now that that is done. All right. Oh, I should have brought my pot holders with me. Okay. Okay, so I've got one here that I put in just a little bit before we started the video. Let me move our beans aside and get these out of the way. So you can see now, here's our cheesy bread. Most of this cheese is all melted and gooey. I had my husband pull this apart the other day and he was burning his fingers. And so I'll just put this on a cutting board and cut it, since it's right out of the oven. Take this off of here. I'm doing it the hard way. Yes, my hands are pretty numb from all the years of cooking. So we can get that out of the way. And now I'll get our knife, and you can just cut this into slices here if you want. It gets all crispy because we cooked it uncovered. Let's see if I can get that cut through the bottom. Or you can just have people tear apart a hunk. I just want to get a piece or two cut off here. But you can see how cheesy this is. Whoops. You can see how stringy and cheesy that is. That's pretty good. So good with those seasonings. So yeah, you can also just take a piece and tear it apart. And you can see how delicious that is, and cheesy and ooey and gooey.
Don't burn yourself.
I know. But it's really good. If I pop this in my mouth right now, it would burn my tongue. I really should wait a minute or so. But it's pretty darn good. So, here's our cheesy bread and our easy baked beans. And so let's see. So yeah, in about 22 minutes, just under 22 minutes, we made baked beans and cheesy bread, minus our 30 minutes of baking time. So, pretty delicious if you want to make a special treat for anybody. And so, that's it for today. You can find both of these recipes again in our cookbook, Rocky Mountain Lodge and Cabin's More Favorite Recipes, which you can purchase at the gift shop on our website, RockyMountainLodge.com, and click on the gift shop tab. You can find the recipe for the baked beans on our online at our recipes page. Just click on the recipes tab. And so come on back next week, and we're going to be making Ebelskiver pancakes. Everybody know what those are? I bet you my hubby doesn't even know what those are. He can't remember.
Yeah.
These are round little puff pancake balls that are filled with jam, and you can fill them with Nutella, anything you might want. And so anyways, come back next week and we'll make some Ebelskiver pancakes.
Tell Helena hi.
Hi there, Helena.
Donna Raybold
Donna.
and Kathy Lynn Zarnowski.
Aw, there's so many. Hi, Kathy. It's so many of all my family and friends on here right now. Good to have y'all. Too bad I can't see you guys. You'll just have to come here to my place so I can see you. So come back next week. We'll do that. Next week will be Wednesday, July 28th. Already the end of July. Where's the time going? Anyways, it's been great to have you guys, and enjoy some more good food, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.